It was 5 minutes until noon. Anna watched Jason insert his earpiece into his ear to communicate with the studio. Brandon adjusted his camera tripod to capture the already violent surf thrashing the long boardwalk. She was excited to see Jason live in action, doing what he does best, talking about weather and sharing his passion with the world, or at least with the people of Savannah and surrounding areas. A thought crossed her mind and a small snicker escaped her. Tomorrow, Jason and Brandon would be those crazy weathermen on TV she'd always made fun of, the ones struggling to give their reports during hurricanes and fighting to stay upright. When she realized she was just as crazy for coming with him, she shook her head and walked closer to the pier for some shade. Anna's gaze traveled to the horizon out at sea, but most of the clouds were still far away. Knowing that soon they would get hit by a Category 1 hurricane made her giddy. At the same time, she was terrified. Anna struggled to imagine the impact Gerard could have on them. They'd had some violent hailstorms, blizzards, and flash floods in Colorado that required rescues, but a hurricane was a few levels up in magnitude. She turned to look at the hotels and condos lining the beach. Would they hold up against the storm? She prayed to God they did. For now, she only wanted to enjoy the view of Jason. "Just friends," the annoying voice inside of her kept saying, interrupting her daydreaming. Brandon counted off the seconds on his hand. "Hello, folks. Chief Meteorologist Jason Morrisonthe here, reporting from Tybee Island. What you see is the calm before the storm. Gerard is now a strong Category 1 hurricane still spinning in the Atlantic and is expected to make landfall right here tomorrow morning around 8 a.m., A mandatory evacuation order is still in effect for the nearby coastlines. On what to expect and more on tomorrow's timeline, stay tuned for details during our weather segments in a few minutes." Jason winked at her, then returned his focus to his work. Her heart fluttered in response. This would be an interesting weekend. The storm hadn't even arrived yet. She watched the guys get ready for the main weather segment while she enjoyed the sea breeze cooling off her hot skin. Dang, her sunscreen was still in the truck. I can tough it out a few more minutes, she thought. Her shoulders had already turned a little pink. Even though Colorado had more sunny days than rain, her skin wasn't used to the sun anymore. Once she had arrived in Georgia, it took less than a day to revert to tank tops, shorts, and flip-flops. She wasn't used to showing this much skin. There was no need to in Colorado. The weather in the deep south was another story. The hot, damp air made her clothes stick to her like a wet rag within minutes of leaving the house. She soon realized that wearing weather-appropriate clothing outweighed worrying about her imperfections. At first, she had tucked and pulled on her shorts to cover up her thighs, but the last hint of her inhibitions evaporated when she entered the grocery store the day after they had arrived. She had no words to describe the fashion choices. "Stop taking pictures, Ash," she had hissed at her daughter, which earned her an eye roll. "And don't you dare put anything on Snapchat." The broadcast was over in no time. Anna joined the men as they broke down the equipment. Brandon had parked Bessie next to a boarded-up souvenir shop. They stashed everything inside, and Jason slammed the door shut. "Hey, Brandon?" "Yeah?" "We'll walk back to the hotel from here. I'll come and get you around 3 so we can prep for the evening broadcast." Brandon gave them a thumbs up and left. They strolled back to the beach, not too close to where the waves broke, though. Anna's legs dragged through the dry sand that gave with every step. She knew she'd be sore in the morning if they continued to walk like this for a while. "Are you sure Brandon is okay?" she asked, somewhat guilty that she was taking Jason away from their usual routines. "He's fine. As long as you give him cable TV to watch, internet access, and time to text with his girlfriend, he'll be good to go." "Did she not want to come?" Jason shook his head. "Nah, she works in the hotel business. With all these evacuees, her manager makes her work when weather is coming." "That makes sense." Anna watched the waves crash against the pier. Experiencing the brute force of the sea gave her goosebumps.